Next time I travel, will I be more focused on fitness? I don't know. Maybe I will. I think that's the weird thing about me is there's certain times where I'm just like, I'm going to live life and I'm okay with that. So maybe it's not a 10. Maybe it's a 9. I don't know. Sometimes I just want to live life. Sometimes I just want to live life and I don't want to have to think about it. I don't have to think about where's the gym, what time is it open.
I think one of the deeper reasons why we don't own what we value most is because once you do, you now have to have the discipline to actually do it. If you own that you actually value fitness at level 10 and you don't follow through, now you're breaking promises to yourself and your relationship with yourself is getting worse.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1929, it's Freestyle Friday. For those of you who may be new, Freestyle Friday is an episode where we don't know what we're going to talk about until we talk about it, and then we'll figure out what it is, and then we'll title it and all that happy jazz. Most of our episodes, we know exactly what we're going to talk about before we go in, so this is always a fun one. This was my thought. And I journaled about this today. I journaled about the fact that in order to, so there's two A's when it comes to alignment. Admittance. I always think Mittens Factory when I say that. Admittance and alignment. You cannot become in alignment unless you admit what is actually alignment in the first place. And I think the holidays for me were a really good example of that, where I was a little scared to tell Alan I didn't want to work Christmas Eve or Christmas. Not because Alan was going to say anything mean or any of that. I just know Alan was going to be working both days because Alan values the mission and that's what he wanted to do and that's what's in alignment for him. And there was a part of me, and I told him, I said, dude, I'm sorry, man. I feel bad. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit ashamed. And Alan was like, dude, you're good. Don't worry about it. You're good. I completely understand. That was in alignment for me. But it required me to admit the fact that, hey, man, I don't really want to work Christmas Eve. I want to spend it with my family, and I want to watch movies, and I want to sip hot cocoa, and I definitely don't want to work Christmas.
What movie?
We watched a bunch. Not as many this year as last year. This year we watched It's a Wonderful Life. We watched Red One with a Rock. Oh, so bad.
Was
so
it bad?
It was bad. So Dwayne, figure it out. I think he made like $50 million for that movie. That was his take home. I think was $50, or not take home, but that's what he got paid. $50 million for that movie. Dwayne, terrible movie.
There's no way.
I've never produced or starred in a movie, so I can't talk that much trash. And would I say it to the man's face?
Let me ask
I'm
you
a
this
coward.
real quick.
Yeah.
Would I say it to the man's face? I seriously doubt it.
Probably not. No.
No, he's large.
Yeah.
The question I have for you.
Please.
Do you think that movie made any money?
No.
For those of you, real quick, sorry to interrupt you. Ask you a question, then interrupt you.
Yeah. Sure.
The amount of money that it's required. So let's say $1 million costs a million. A movie costs $100 million to make. They need to gross a huge amount. That means it's another $100 million to market it. So $100 million to make, $100 million to market it, bring it to market, and it needs to gross significantly more than that, more than double that. So that's $200 million. So it needs to gross at least $400 million to be worth it after everyone's paid. I mean, there's accountants on set, budgeting, director, actors, actresses, makeup. I mean, there's a ton. CGI. And that's the tip of the iceberg. Do you think that movie made money?
I believe
there's no way.
I believe it cost $250 million to make. Not with no marketing. That's not including marketing. And Chris Evans was in it.
Yeah.
Lucy Liu was in it. Lucy Liu didn't have a huge part, but she was in it. So there was some pretty large actors and actresses that probably require. I'm pretty sure The Rock made $50 million. So it's a lot of money.
Well, and again, this is not about movies. The one thing that might justify that payday is The Rock obviously has one of the largest social media followings in the world. So the marketing.
Well, he produced it. He
produced it too. That's also why. Yeah. So his company fronted a lot of the risk.
This was fun. This was a funny part to me. And again, we'll get off of it. I'm very into, I don't know. There's a thing. I'm weird with stuff like this. Where I love to know what's going on behind the scenes of things because I've learned so much about people and about stuff that I never knew about when I learned about the behind the scenes. And completely forgot what I was going to say. Red
Isn't
one.
that the worst when that happens? I hate it.
Yeah, I was like so excited to talk about it. And then it just completely left.
I said he produced it.
Yeah.
And that's why he took more of the risk. Go ahead.
Gotcha. This movie was supposed to go direct to Amazon Prime. Okay? Evidently, The Rock watched Oppenheimer in IMAX and said, Red 1 has to also be in IMAX. This is a game. Yeah. He's like, this is a game. This will blow the whole thing up. No, sir. Oppenheimer is one of the greatest films of all time by one of the greatest directors of all time. You don't need to be fighting snowmen on the beach in IMAX. No offense. Again, I wouldn't say it to the man's face. But yeah, I fell asleep. I had Chinese food and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I was like, I'm glad I fell asleep.
So we watched The Grinch.
It's a great movie.
It was great. The 2001 with Jim Carrey.
Great. One of the best Christmas movies of all time.
It was hilarious.
It's a great movie.
Really funny. Okay, what was the point you were making before this?
You asked me what movies. It's a Wonderful Life, Red 1, Christmas Chronicles, Toy Story 1. Not Toy Story 1.
Movie
Home
Marathon
Alone 1. Home Alone 1.
Is Movie Marathon a tradition?
Yeah. So I don't want to work Christmas Eve or Christmas.
I'm a huge fan.
It's hard to get through 9 movies if you have calls on those days. You know what I mean?
It's hard to get through 9 movies.
You can't be disturbed.
Very quickly, I know we've added 0 value so far.
So far, yes.
One of my birthdays, it wasn't this past one, but the one before, Emilia always asks, what do you want to do? And I wanted to do a Hobbit marathon. Those movies, the extended versions. So the extended versions are an average of 3.5 hours each. I was up at midnight, like with one of my eyes twitching. She had fallen asleep. I finished it, dude. I did it. That was a mistake. It was a whole Sunday. I took the whole day.
Yeah.
And I just watched the Hobbit movies, the full extended version.
I respect
on my 83-inch in the bedroom. It was an awesome day in some ways, but by the middle of the third movie, I was like, this was a mistake. This was a mistake. Now it's just caused sunk bias.
Well, yeah, at that point, you got to finish. I had a very nostalgic night the night before Christmas Eve. So Christmas Eve. Taryn fell asleep at like 7 o'clock. And I watched Bad Santa. Again, it's a graphic movie.
Oh, no.
But I was freaking dying. I was laughing so hard. And I texted Matt because Matt and I used to watch that together all the time. And I sent him a picture of it. And I was like, dude, this is funnier than I remember. This is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
The Grinch was funnier than I remember, for sure.
Well, different comedy.
Yeah,
definitely.
Slightly. Yeah,
slightly different.
Definitely different.
That was
I've never actually seen Bad Santa.
There's some stuff in there. I mean,
I've seen several clips that
2003.
Yeah,
I think this came out in 2003. So there was a lot of pretty toxic stuff that at the time was just like, yeah, this is normal. Well, normal shouldn't be normal in certain points. So again, I wouldn't recommend it, but for me it was a nostalgia watch.
Welcome everyone to Alan and Kevin's
movie hour.
Movie review.
Well,
yeah, so alignment and
it all came from that. It all came from, I think one of the reasons it's so hard to stay in alignment is because it requires courage to admit what alignment actually is. If you are ashamed at all of what you value, I remember when I used to travel for work, it was a running joke because the first thing I would ask my boss is I would say, what town are we working in? And he'd say, oh, you need to look for a gym? And I said, yeah, I need to look for a gym. They were never negative about that. That became the identity, and that became... Sometimes he would literally say, like, oh, Kev, when I was visiting the hotel, I saw there's a gym right down the street. Perfect. Love that. But I had to admit how important that was to me. And when you admit what's important to you, there is a potential for lash out or pushback or whatever it is. And I think that's why it's so easy to just go with the flow and then regret it and then get frustrated and then resent people, because it takes a lot of courage to admit what you actually value and admit what alignment actually is for you.
It took courage on my end as well. And it's interesting that we're having this conversation because I was on with a client of mine, Linda. I actually have 2 Linda clients, so anyways, you'll know who I'm talking about, and you'll know if it's not you. But anyways, so shout out to Linda. She said there's 3 things that I'm working on right now. One of them is self-awareness, which is awareness, A. They all begin with A. awareness. The next one is alignment. The third one is action. So new awareness brings new opportunity for alignment. And that means I need to take a new action. And it's funny that you brought this up for Freestyle Friday, because whenever you do get a new awareness about yourself, and when you said admittance, I think that's good, because sometimes you're aware, okay, I value productivity. So it was courageous for you to say, I don't want to work Christmas Eve. You know what's interesting? It was just as courageous for me to say I do. I had a client who had a call booked on Christmas Day. I actually ended up doing 2 coaching sessions on Christmas Day. At the time, I only had 1 booked. And I saw my calendar deleted, declined. And I messaged this person and I said, hey, you declined. What? You can't make it? You can't make that time? You didn't want to work Christmas? And it wasn't a negative thing. It wasn't me being negative. It was, do you want to reschedule? And she said, no, I figured you weren't going to work Christmas. And I said, no. I'm game. Let's rock and roll. So we put it back on the calendar. She's like, oh, I'm game. I didn't think you would be. Who the F do you think you're talking to here? Right? I'm obviously playful. And I'm reading right now It's a workshop called Focus by Stephen R. Covey, and it's achieving your highest priorities. And at the end of the day, why I bring that up too is in this workshop, they're talking about, it's basically one of those live audios of an actual workshop with people in it, and they give the microphone, you can hear them talking, and they're workshopping out what's urgent versus important, all this stuff. But they're doing core values right now. My productivity is one of my most important subjects that I study. And I value it at level 10. But other people don't necessarily, certainly not on the holidays. And it takes a lot of courage to say, Emily and I are not going to be available on Christmas Eve and Christmas. And we ended up seeing family before and after, and we're actually going to go see some family on Sunday instead. But that was the most aligned Christmas. That was the most aligned holiday I've ever had. And Emily and I were talking about it. And it took courage for you to say, hey, I don't want to work Christmas. It took courage for me to say, hey, I do.
Well, I think that's the beauty. Again, not to pump our tires. That's what I like about you and I having very different core values in some ways. You and I have very similar core values in other ways. But now as we lean more into who we are, and we really want to be more and more, I want to be me. And you want to be you. who and who. More and more and more.
The who's down in Whoville.
So here, this is the interesting thing. I haven't podcasted in 2 days. Maybe 3 days, because I don't know if I podcasted it on the day before Christmas Eve. That's what happens when you don't do it. I'm so used to doing it every day, or at least 6 times a week, like in a row. When I don't do it, I notice not a drastic difference, but I notice a difference.
Yeah, imposter syndrome comes back.
A little bit.
So am I still good at this?
You could very easily say to people, well, you should work holidays. I could very easily say to people, well, you should never work holidays. The truth is, what if you had the opportunity to choose? So I told Alan, I said, I don't want the team to have to work on Christmas Eve or Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Because
they also asked.
Yeah.
Ron had mentioned.
But even then, if somebody values it, I would like them to have the opportunity not to do it. Because
of course,
I have the opportunity not to do it, and the last thing I want is somebody to do it if they value it as much or more than I do. I'd like for them to have that opportunity. But it's not, that advice depends on who you are and what you want. That's why it's so hard to hear advice in a vacuum, because it's the advice that you take in the moment depends on what you're aiming for long term. And it depends on what alignment actually means to you. I went to the gym on Christmas Eve. I didn't go to the gym on Christmas. I went to the gym on Christmas. Did I go to the gym on Christmas Eve? I don't know if I did. We had to get up early. It was a whole thing. But it's not that I didn't want to do anything. It was just, I know that if I have calls scheduled, family, that's a whole thing. If we're going to family, it's like, well, I can't go until 4. it becomes this whole thing. There's stuff under it. There's stuff under it. I still checked WhatsApp and made sure nothing was burning down, that type of stuff, right? So, I don't know. I understand why it's very hard, because if you're not willing to admit how important something is to you, you don't bring it up, nobody else knows, and then you start to resent people because they don't go along with your core values unless they just happen to conveniently have the same ones as you.
And when you do bring it up, you sometimes do get lashback.
Definitely.
A lot of people had a really hard time with Emily and I sort of, I don't want to say opting out, but doing our own thing on the holidays. And some people were totally fine with it. But again, it's core values in conflict. If you just go along with the flow, no one's going to be upset with you. However, you're going to be upset with you when you went out of alignment. I think owning what you value is scary. And I think the reason why is, number one, socially. That's the big reason I struggle to own what I value. Because the truth is, not a lot of people. I mean, if you look at the statistics, the statistics of that, how many people want to work on Christmas and Christmas Eve?
I can't imagine very many. I can't imagine very many.
That feels very scary to own. It was the best Christmas and Christmas Eve I've ever had. Bar none. It's not even close. It's unbelievable. I went to the gym both days. No, I exercised both days. I went to the gym yesterday. I was actually surprised. There was quite a few people in there.
Did you wear a Santa hat?
I did not.
I had a full Santa ready to go, and I just didn't go.
So
that's a big piece of it. I was going.
So social is number one, and that might be the reason why you don't own what you really value, because what you really value might be really rare. Yep. That's not normal. Luckily, Amelia and I both value that. She worked too. So that's number one. Number two is when you do own it, you might get social lashback. Number three, I think one of the deeper reasons why we don't own what we value most is because once you do, you now have to have the discipline to actually do it. What do I mean by that? Let me try to clarify that. If I own that I value fitness at level 10, well, now I better get my ass to the gym. And so it's almost, I think everyone struggles to own what they value for one of two reasons. Either external of you, socially, or internal, you're afraid you won't follow through. If you own that you actually value fitness at level 10 and you don't follow through, now you're breaking promises to yourself and your relationship with yourself is getting worse. So number one is you're afraid to break promises to others. My values are different. I can't make it. I got invited to a holiday party at my mom and pop-ups. And I'm going to go see my mom on Sunday, actually. We're going to go see her Nana and my grandma instead. One-on-one, like closer time instead of the big event. And so we found a way that was aligned. But saying no to that, there was definitely a moment of, am I going to get shit on for this? But I think one reason people really struggle to own what they value is because once you admit to yourself that you value that at that level, now you really have to prove to yourself that you value it with your actions. And I think that takes a lot of self-discipline.
What do you think I value fitness at on a scale of 1 to 10?
Way more than you think. You're so miserable when you're not doing fitness.
I just know it's
Dude, I think it's a 10.
No way.
I think it is, and I think well, again, are we comparing to statistics or are we comparing to
No, probably to you.
Oh.
Probably
well, then yeah, it's not a 10. I would say I value it more than you do, which is weird to say out loud.
No, I've said that. How many times have I said that behind the scenes? There's a reason I don't want to exercise every day. It's not that I don't think I could. I genuinely think would it be terrible? Yes. It would be absolutely horrible. But I do believe deep down I could do it. I mean, I've had spurts where I haven't missed in a long time. Yeah. It's more the fact that I don't want to sign up for that. That's my honest truth. Is like, if I want to sleep in on a Sunday, I don't want to have to do anything.
Signing up for 45 minutes was tough. It's
terrible.
been challenging, yeah.
When you're 100, it'll be awesome. But until then, it'll suck.
I do think it's worth it. But again, of course I would.
Yeah.
So I think you value fitness at a 10 statistically speaking. And I think you value it deep down more than you would have admitted to yourself.
Mm.
But again, what am I basing that off of? This is what I do for a living, as pretentious as all of this is going to come off. I see the delta between highest self and human self. So highest self Kev fucking loves fitness. Obsessed. Wants to be jacked, wants to be in better shape, wants to be athletic as hell, wants to be capable. I mean, just loves it. Loves it. Human Kev is like, I like Chinese food. Now, these two are always in conflict and sometimes not. So you let your human self eat Chinese food, so do I. Chinese food's the only place open on Christmas, baby. I had it last night. It was awesome. And also not that great. It's the place near us. New China P, dude. Goddamn. So highest self Kev values it, I think, way more than human self Kev wants to admit. Because then human self Kev has to get his shit together.
I don't know. I feel like...
Or is it the opposite?
I feel like right now I like 5 to 6 days a week.
You're so much more fulfilled, though, when you're crushing it in fitness.
Well, I'm saying right now I feel like I'm doing it the optimal amount.
Agreed.
I went in today and I did a heavy chest day and I thought my shoulder was going to fall off. It's like,
can you tell us vulnerably a time recently within the last year, 2024, where you were telling yourself a story that you were doing the optimal amount when in reality, deep down, highest self was like, Kev, get your fucking shit together. My highest self is very intense.
I can sense that.
Maybe it says it nicer than that.
Man. It's hard because I don't remember. Probably when I was training jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Or before that. But again, I wasn't super focused on fitness at the beginning of the year, I don't think. Like I was Jeff, and hold on, let me look. Because my gym, if you go on their app, it tells you how many workouts you had. Which is super cool.
NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes. While Kev's looking this up, I just want to make this relevant and valuable for everybody. I think sometimes we tell ourselves a story that we value things more than we really do. I have one client I'm thinking of where I called him out on it. I said, brother, can you be really honest with me for a second? Does it bother you how out of shape you are? And I said, I don't mean this any negative way. I know you know that. We've been working together for years. He said, honestly, not really. I said, I'm going to say something. I'm going to hold up a mirror just for a second. I said, I want you to look at me right now. This bothers me every day. Every day, this bothers me. I value fitness so much. I cannot stand that I'm this out of shape. He's like, well, you're not out of shape. I said, it's all relative. For you, I'm not. But the only reason I look this way is because I'm aiming much better than this. And by the way, I was way better than this in the past. And so for everyone out there, some people are telling themselves a story that they value something at level 10 that in reality, deep down, you actually don't value it that much. And that's why you keep breaking the promises. Oh, I'm going to go to the gym, and then you don't. I said, just accept it. Just own it. I said, 0 to 10, how much do you value finances? He said, 12. I said, I know. You know how easy it is to get you to track finances? I said, 0 to 10, how much do you value fitness? He's like, 7, maybe 8. I was like, dude, it's probably like a 6. That's okay. That's okay. Own it. We should not be shooting for fitness model results when you don't even care. When you're at a barbecue, does it bother you to not be in great shape? He's like, no. I said, dude, that's okay. It bothers me every time. Always. And people think, well, are you toxic? Why does it bother you? You're in such great shape. Listen, this is you versus you. This whole game is you versus you. This is you versus your potential. This is not if you think I'm in great shape, I appreciate that. That's awesome. But this is a fraction of what I know I'm supposed to do. This is a fraction of what I would like to do, that I know I can do, that I'm capable of. And again, I'm not saying I'm out of shape. I'm in better shape than I was earlier this year, but not nearly to my best. And if it didn't bother me, I wouldn't be working harder to improve it. And I think that all of us have to sit with our core values, and then don't set level 10 standards for a level 2 core value. That's the point. And I see people doing that all the time. Sometimes you set a level 2 standard when you have a level 10 core value, and then you end up unfulfilled. Sometimes you set a level 10 standard because it's what you think you're supposed to do, in quotes, when in reality you only value it at level 5. So just give yourself a level 5 standard.
Well said.
Thank you.
So here's the thing. I don't know if I thought I was doing it well. I don't think I did, because I remember saying, like, I'm Jeffin.
Yeah.
In December of 2023. Now, again, I think I was also doing jiu-jitsu. I don't remember when I started. I remember it was cold. Oh, no, yeah, I was doing jiu-jitsu because I remember I did a grappling session on Christmas Eve. But I went to the gym and weight trained 3 times in December of 2023.
Okay. Talk to me about how much that affects, as someone who, how much do you value weight training?
Well,
0
here's
to
the
10,
thing.
statistically speaking.
10, statistically speaking.
Okay. What was your standard at the time?
I was grappling, so grappling was new, so I didn't care as much.
Yeah. But it still was bothering you beneath the surface. We all have things beneath the surface bothering
not as much
us.
not as much as you think.
Oh.
Dude, it was a dream for me to grapple again.
I remember when I saw you in person, I remember thinking, nice. You had lost a lot of weight, you were sweating off, and your skin looked better. Like, the cardio side was very strong.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, you want to lose some, I mean, it depends on what you're doing, but you want to lose weight, go grapple. You want to talk about how many calories you burn in an hour grappling session?
What do you think? Obviously, it depends on body type and all that, but
I
what do you
don't
think?
either.
Twice as much as weight training?
Way more.
3 times?
Probably.
That's wild.
I mean,
I've never done it, so I don't know.
your heart rate is high pretty much the entire time. It's a lot. I mean, and you're sweating. I told Taryn one time, I was like, I think you'd love grappling, other than the fact that you don't like germs. So that's not going to do it, because in the summer, the mats are covered in sweat. It's like disgusting.
Yeah.
But you're sweating a ton. So January 2024, I went 18 times.
Nice.
February 10. March 4.
Ooh.
So, like, I think March, April,
Talk to us
May,
about this
I went
quarter.
3. I think I
Talk to us
traveled,
about
didn't I?
October,
Did I
November,
travel?
December.
October, November, December.
Can I guess?
If
Hold
I
on,
was
let me
you,
guess.
I would start.
October
Go ahead.
is 24. November is 20. October's 20. November's 24. December, because we're not done yet, is 22.
October was 22, November was 21, and December is 16.
December is 16?
16 in December.
I thought you were doing 5 days a week.
I'm jeffing. Well, the
Holy
first week
crap,
I did
holy.
4, second week I did 5, third week I did 5. This week, I've only worked out twice because of Christmas Eve. and
Well,
Christmas.
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, you've been crushing it though the last couple months.
Yeah,
21, 22.
it started in June. It was 19. July was 28. So like July, I hit a groove of, okay, we're gonna go back full time bodybuilding. Like, we are going to be a bodybuilder again. That was in July. And again, that's the weird thing, is it feels like it's been that way for a year. It hasn't. It's been that way for 5 months.
I know.
That's the weird thing about identity, and that was just a conversation with me rechecking in, saying, no, I am a bodybuilder and I want to be a bodybuilder, and let me figure out what does it mean for me to be a bodybuilder. And I remember I bought new stringers, and Taryn got me new shoes for the gym for my birthday, and so yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, going back to stringers was necessary, man.
It's necessary.
It's a
you got to
game
see the
changer.
muscles.
You got to. Yeah, you got to. You need the
You got
feedback.
to see. You
You
can
need the
tell. You can. That's a thing. It's a thing. You gotta see the differences. You see the body fat percentage. You see veins, weird stuff.
What does alignment even mean? It means aligned with your goals and aligned with your core values. So if everyone wants something practical, what are your top 3 core values for this quarter, this coming up quarter, Q1 of 2025? And then what are goals that you can set in each of those categories?
You need a target. If you've ever said, I feel out of alignment with what? What is the thing that you're doing, and what does it feel out of alignment with? That. One of the other hard things too is when I went to Scotland with Taryn, before we went, I said, I'm not going to exercise while we're there. We're in a different town almost every day. I'm not going to try to find a gym. Like, what are we doing here? There's no way I'm going to do that. Could I have gone for runs? Sure. But I'm a bodybuilder. So no.
The identity.
So no. But that's something too. Next time I travel, will I be more focused on fitness? I don't know. Maybe I will. I think that's the weird thing about me is there's certain times where I'm just like, I'm going to live life and I'm okay with that. So maybe it's not a 10. Maybe it's a 9. I don't know. Sometimes I just want to live life. Sometimes I just want to live life and I don't want to have to think about it. I don't have to think about where's the gym, what time is it open, what is 35 pounds in dollars? Like, is that a lot for a gym? Let me crunch the numbers on that. Like, sometimes you don't want to think about that. You just want to say, you know what? I'm going to have a Guinness and 6 Guinnesses before I go to bed, and then I'll just wake up when I do. And then Tara and I are going to hit the road. We're going to drive 5 hours to the next destination. I'm not going to worry about it.
I'm reading a book right now called The Productivity Project. And I've been reading it every morning with the new morning routine I've been implementing. And Chris Bailey, I'm coming around on him. He talks about your relationship with your future self. And he has this really cool, I know we got to jump, but he has this really cool graphic in the book where it shows all the different, it's like a Venn diagram, but one that gets closer. You know how with the eclipse, there's the sun behind the moon? It's kind of like that. You have current self and future self, and that's happening. There's a bunch of different pictures of this happening. And I realized alignment, in many regards, is integrating what your current self values with what's best for your future self. And when I looked at the graphics, this is in the morning, I was thinking to myself, I think one of the reasons why I'm so playfully, socially ostracized is because I value future self a lot more than present self. And I think that that's very uncommon statistically. I do. I'm always prioritizing my future. Not always. I mean, I wouldn't get Chinese food if that was the case, right? That's not best for future self. I know that. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. But I very rarely, I would say 90% of my choices are for future self. Very rarely do I say, screw the future self. I'm letting this ride. And I do occasionally. And I think you have to take care of both. And so some people are 80-20, some people are 50-50, some people are 80-20 the other way. I would say I'm 80% future self, 20% current self. I would ask the listeners and or viewers to ask themselves, what is yours? And then where do you want it to shift? Because I remember you telling me you were 100% present self way back in the day, and that was wildly detrimental.
But awesome, too.
Awesome in the moment.
It's the best in the moment. Just the best.
Kev's over here selling it.
No, I like to be very honest about that. It's most of the stuff that's not good for us is really easy to do.
Yeah.
It's just that. It's like most of the stuff that's really easy to do is just not, it's just not great for you. If it's really, 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 really easy for you right now, current self, it's probably not what's ideal for future self. If you think about that. And on the other front, if it's like unreasonably hard, devastating, and changing you in negative ways, it also might not be ideal for future self. And when I say that, I'm thinking of like a football player.
Yeah.
It looks awesome. You're playing in front of these massive audiences and you're making millions of dollars a year And then 15 years after you retire, you have CTE and you can't bend over to pick up your kids. Not
For
everybody.
those
but
of
some.
you who don't know, for the people who don't know CT,
I don't know what the actual name is, but
I'm on
when
it.
you get too many concussions, essentially your brain starts to rot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And you end
I
up
have-
with anger problems and memory problems and depression. And again, I don't have a degree in anything, so I don't listen to anything I say, but
Chronic traumatic
encephalitis.
encephalopathy.
Oh.
Encephalopathy is a
Tough one.
degenerative brain disease that can result from repeated head injuries or blows to the head. The idea is, the soft tissue of your brain bumps up against your skull too many times. I've actually got brain scans that I have in my one of my folders. It's called the Everything folder I use in coaching, and it shows smokers, it shows drug addicts, it shows the brain scans of all these different ailments, all these different things. CT is one of them, and one of them is bad sleep.
Interesting.
Bad sleep affects your brain a lot. So, anyways, a little side tangent, but future
But-
self, current self. Sometimes you got to prioritize future self, and I would just say integrate them. That's really what it comes down to. Is you got to integrate future self and current self, and that's what alignment I think is.
It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing because I think this is another place where time perspective comes in. I didn't really understand. I didn't start working out when I was young so I could take care of myself when I was older. That's not why I did it. I started working out because I wanted to get jacked. That was it. And now over time, I see people who are older in their 50s and 60s, and I say, okay, well, they didn't take care of themselves.
Ooh, brutal.
Right? They weren't weight training, and they weren't doing mobility, and they weren't getting enough sleep, and they weren't staying hydrated. That's something I think you and I take for granted. Like, you and I are always hydrated. Or
Lately, I've been Jeffing that. I want to do an episode. I told Kev soon on 2024, and then what we're gonna try to do differently in 2025. One of mine for sure is better hydration, because I'm only drinking 2 of these a day, which is what? This is 32 ounces, so you're looking at 64 ounces. I'm 190 pounds. It's not
yeah,
enough.
but you have energy. You have
Mhm.
energy drinks.
Mhm.
You have protein shake.
Mm-hmm.
So
We started doing the Fairlife milk instead of the protein shakes to save money. But yeah,
You're telling me I
everyone
have
can
to
reflect on 2024 and think, here's what I did well, and here's what I didn't do very well, and here's how I can do better in 2025.
maybe we'll do that for the first episode, 2025. We'll see.
I would love to.
We'll see. We'll see when we do it. Al and I are trying to do a better job of like actually doing episodes on days. Sometimes we're just so in it that I don't even know what day it is. It's like, oh, cool, let's do this episode on this, when we could do an episode that would be more timely, time-based, appropriate. So we'll figure that out. All right, cool. Next Level Nation. This is different. It's a little bit different. If you are a listener of NLU and you are a podcaster, our 17th round of group coaching starts on January 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be our second ever group that is all podcasters. So we focus on growing you, so grow yourself in the first 2 sessions, grow your podcast in the second 2 sessions, and then grow your business in the last 2 sessions. So level up yourself, level up your podcast, level your business. If you are a podcaster who listens to us, then obviously we probably have very similar core values, core beliefs, and core aspirations. And you know how we do the podcast, and you know that I coach podcasters and Alan coaches business owners and all that happy jazz. So if you're interested, we'll have the link in the show notes. I think it's all set up. It's ready to go. With the discount code, it ends up being $97 per month.
Yes. I'm on the website right now. It's 12 days out, and it comes to, with the discount code, 96, almost 97 if you round up.
$96.60, I believe.
It's 12 sessions, so you get 6 sessions with Kevin and myself. The first 2, as you mentioned, level up yourself, level up your podcast, level up your business. But it's 12 sessions because there's connection sessions in between with Amy, our assistant coach. So we did the math out. If you pay for the 3-month program with the discount code NLU listener, all one word, capital or not, it comes to, as Kevin mentioned, $97 a month. If you divide at 3-month program, it comes to less than $25 per session. Less than $25 per session is the most affordable coaching you are going to find. And I promise you, the public accountability, the WhatsApp group, Amy's in there every day. Kevin and I, it's just get around a group of people who want to see you win. That's what this is. Get around a group of people who want to see you win, who also hold you accountable by leading by example.
Boom. Yeah, we have podcasters that changed their names, they rebranded, they created products and services for the first time maybe. So it's really designed for you if you're a podcaster who's trying to figure out how to make it a business. But you want to grow yourself. You understand how important self-improvement is. It's a
That's what we would have needed.
100%. It's very specific, but it's also, I don't know, I feel like it's not too specific. You don't have to be a self-improvement podcaster. If you're a podcaster who wants to get better, that's the whole thing. And better yourself, better at podcasting, better at business. So I'll have the link in the show notes for that. We would love to have you if you are interested. And make sure you tell someone who wants to be more next level about NLU. That helps us, it helps you, and it helps your friend or your family member or whoever it is. And that's one of the best ways to grow a podcast is word of mouth. So we would appreciate that very much if you would do it. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep after it. Next Level Nation.